Pete Schinaman.
My name is Pete Schinaman. I am a levy co-chair along with Diana Featherstone and Pat Karras, who wasn't able to be here tonight. As a volunteer for the levy, I was asked to be here tonight to introduce ourselves and kind of, I guess, make known who we are. But I had intentions of being here tonight for other reasons. And that's what I want to talk about. Because I'm just livid over the possibility. And I sent all of you an email today. I may not, or may not have read it, I don't know.
I didn't know
But
that.
I'm incensed over the fact that we stand on the precipice of having a union in this town. And I guess I just want to hear maybe not each of you, I want to hear you guys speak to how we got to this point. I mean, I have been in communication with teachers. I've listened to administrators, I've listened to teachers. It sounds like this thing's rolling full steam ahead and there's no stopping it. But it seems to me that this could have been prevented years ago had we taken action. And I just feel like we've kicked this can down the road for so long, and now here we are, after not having a union in this town for, I don't know, 50 years? I don't know how long, 75 years? And the actions of this board have led us to the point where now we stand on the precipice of having a union. And I just think that's despicable. And to speak what Tammy Keterman, to speak to what she just said, you know, the parents are frustrated with Common Core. Very few people think that's in the best interest of our children. The park testing had parents just incensed last week. You know, again, something else that's being forced down our throats that doesn't seem to be in our best interest. And now we're going to add another layer of bureaucracy between us and our kids' education. And while that's going on, you know, you guys are in here talking about building a football stadium. And I just think that's despicable. I mean, I really do. And I don't know any of you personally. I have no relationships with you. And I don't mean this at all as a personal attack. But I'm incredibly frustrated and just shocked that this situation has come to a boil. And we're sitting here, you know, wishing happy anniversary to our wife. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, what do you guys have to say for yourselves? I mean, I want to hear something. Or I mean, is this it? I'm going to talk, you're going to stare at me, and then that's it? I mean, the community deserves better. I mean, there's going to be a decision made on this in the next couple of days, as I understand it, right? There's a vote coming up soon. You guys think that's in our best interest of this community to have a union in here representing our teachers? We haven't done it good enough ourselves for the last 50 or 75 years?
We endorsed, where do you see it, the board ever endorsed the...
I never said you endorsed
You just
it.
said,
I didn't say you
it's
endorsed it. I
okay.
said your negligence have
No,
led
you
us
said
to this point.
You said you think it's okay.
Listen, if you want to argue semantics with me, that's fine. Your negligence has led us to this point. And I want to hear, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you haven't been negligent in your lack of action. Maybe you're justified. I'd like to hear the justification why. Why do you guys think, you know, it's in our best interest to have this levy? I mean, you must, because you just seem like you're sitting back, letting it steamroll the community.
The levy or
To have the levy or the
union?
To have the union. Yeah, and you know, and with regard to the levy, as a co-chair, it's going to be a real tough sell. It isn't what I signed on for when I signed on to volunteer for the levy. I wasn't aware, you know, and I take responsibility for that. That's on me. That's my fault. And shame on me for not having stayed better informed. But I didn't sign on to go out and raise money to have it sent to a union whose interests are contrary to our own. I mean, I don't understand how we got to this point. Can anybody speak to how we got to this point, and what do you guys intend, if anything, to do about it? But sit back and take it.
I guess what would you have liked us to have done? I mean, it's a funding issue for us.
Okay, who funds it though?
The taxpayers.
The community.
Right.
Okay, so we just
you're-
kicked it down the road in hopes of what?
What got
You're going to
kicked?
have to fund it 2 years ago, or you got to fund it now.
What got kicked down the road, though? What do you think got kicked down the road?
You couldn't have resolved this situation a year ago?
We can talk about the history of levies we put on and the results of those. We have put levies.
So you're telling me that when I walk away from this
Let me finish now.
podium...
You want to answer
Sure,
the question?
go ahead.
Okay. We put a levy on 2.5 years ago for 7.95. It got beat 70-30 by the community. Said no. We went back and put a levy on 4.95. It won by less than 2%. Okay?
100
Community-
votes. Yeah.
What's that?
100 votes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the community, I read your letter today, the community spoke, they said barely we're gonna fund that.
But that was then, this is now.
Wow, okay.
I mean, these decisions, it's not like touching the stove where there's an immediate
But
response.
let me
You make
finish,
decisions
answer
right
your
now
question.
that don't have an impact
Let
for
me
years
finish your
down the road.
question. I listened to you, then, so since then, it's not prudent for a school district to go on the ballot every year with a levy. Historically, it doesn't do well. Voters get
So how
Beaver
do-
Heights fatigue,
Yeah.
Beaver Creek fatigue,
Springboro?
Springboro fatigue. So it's you gotta be very intelligent about how you go and ask the voters for money. You just can't go, we need more money, get your checkbook out. So it's a lot of thoughts gotta go into that. So the last levy we passed was 2 years ago this May. So it's only been less than 2 years. That wears voters out. So you've gotta be careful about when you go back and ask for more money, cause they'll say no to you again, and then you're back at the same spot you started at. So it
Okay.
isn't the kicking the can down the road. We asked the voter for money, they said, no, we're not gonna fund that. And so we
But
had
you're
to-
saying when you asked them, what'd you do? You wrote a levy, and then you handed it to people like us to go out and sell. Did you guys go out and actively lobby on behalf of the district to pass that levy?
I think there's been one
Oh,
levy the
yeah.
last 20 years. I haven't worked on Pete.
Great, well, that's good. But regardless, did we not hemorrhage 30 people last year? Did we not lose 30 people or close to it last year? I mean, regardless of what you think these people need to be making, I mean, we have to be competitive in the wages that we pay, don't we? I mean, don't we have to pay these people a competitive wage and for their services? If we don't, we're going to end up losing them to other
So
districts.
why do you think there's a levy on in May then? What's the
But-
reason this levy coming up? It's for that reason.
It's for that, but the fact that you guys have allowed these teachers' frustration to boil over to the point where now, I mean, do you guys think it would be better to negotiate with the union than with this community? I mean, that's what's going to happen, and I guess that, I mean, maybe that only matters to me, but it seems to me that a union representation, a union representative will be standing here making these complaints, or I guess lobbying on behalf of the teachers from this point moving forward. And you guys find that perfectly acceptable. To have the community's ability to run this district as we've done well for a long time will be no more. Because we've allowed these people to get so frustrated and allow their animosity to boil over.
We haven't allowed, they have become that, we haven't allowed it, it's just the way that things have played out. We-
So what are we gonna do then? What
Well,
happens?
You know what, you'll have to
We're
ask
gonna
them.
put the levy
You'll
on?
have to ask them. You'll have to
So
ask
this
them.
is all on them. I mean, they've come here, they've communicated to you
Well, there's not much that we
their
can do.
points.
There's not much that we can do. I mean,
But you
they've
can
got
put it
ball
on the
rolling.
levy, or put it on the ballot in the form of a levy like we're doing,
Uh-huh.
and make it known to the citizens how critical it is that we get this done. And I mean, we can't just, I guess I don't understand how this can be perceived as a good long-term plan.
But I never
It's not our
suggested that it
plan,
was,
Pete.
it's not our plan.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask the teachers, it's not our plan.
I've talked to the teachers, but again, you know, if you talk to, you know, you're an attorney, I'm sure you have employees, right?
I
You
do,
know,
no.
you have employees, you have to pay these people. I mean, if you want to attract and retain good people, you have to pay them, period.
But we are
If you
a
don't pay them,
profit-making
you're going to lose, I'm sorry?
The only way that we can pay them is if the community supports funding. which we
Exactly,
have
but
on the
people
ballot
don't
right now.
support the funding because there's so much animosity between the teachers and you guys
Is
that the
that why?
community
No,
is
I don't
left
think that that's
with the
right.
idea that they don't deserve it.
No,
Okay,
no,
let's
let's
look
stop the
forward.
editorializing, man,
Yeah,
that is
let's
just not
look
right.
forward, all right, let's say we're the worst school board ever in the history of school boards, all right? And none of us care, let's just say that. What would you do now? What should we do now that we're not doing? Do you have any criticism of us now that we can move forward that would help us?
Any criticism of you now? I guess.
I mean, what are we doing?
Do you think it's a good idea that we have a union representing our teachers in this town? Yes or no?
Well, hold on just for a
No,
second.
no. Yes or no? Can't you answer yes or no to that?
I'm running this, I'm running the meeting.
Oh,
Okay, so
really?
hold on
Okay,
just for a second.
you're in charge of the meeting.
I
The
am.
citizens aren't?
No,
The
I'm-
people of
no,
this
no,
community?
No, but we have far exceeded, and I probably should have made, this clear. It's a five, I mean, and this is the way that it's always been.
Yeah, I understand.
That it
5
was a
minutes to talk
5 minute,
that's
and
it.
it's a 5 minute citizen comment, not necessarily citizen interrogation.
It's not spare me, it isn't an
Well,
interrogation.
well-
But I think we deserve some answers, don't we? I mean, the things are about to change in this, within our educational system, things are going to change.
Right.
And it's gonna take a change unlike anything we've ever seen before.
Okay, and I can appreciate your
And
comment.
isn't there, I guess, okay, forget about everything else I said.
No,
Do you
I'm not
guys
gonna-
find that to be okay?
No, I don't find it to
Okay,
be
so what can we do together to remedy that?
You'll have to ask, on the union question, you'll need to ask the people that are pursuing the union.
I've
For
talked
me,
to
and I
those
think the
people.
rest of
I
the
have
board, we
talked
are
to
not
those
in
people.
favor of it, okay,
Okay,
so.
but what are we doing to prevent
I'm
it?
just saying, we have exceeded, wait a minute, we have exceeded the scope of your time at the citizen comment, podium.
Is John allowed to talk?
Oh,
Again,
he's
just
allowed
one-
to talk.
If I could, one last, I don't wanna say parting shot, but I personally don't wanna see an association, okay? But it's not in our control at this point, okay? We've tried, and again, I can understand, believe me, it's not where I wanna be, okay? But when it comes to a collective bargaining, it is the teacher's right to look at going down the path
Yeah.
to form an association.
Absolutely
To
it
be
is.
able to say, Pete, that we can stop it at this point, believe me, I've been out talking to teachers, trying to share a perspective of where I don't think this is a good idea, okay?
Yeah,
So, again, to be able to go back and take away all of, or whatever has led up to this point, and again, I've been involved in it all the way through.
but don't we have to take ownership for the, I mean, I know we can't do anything about it as we stand here today. It's probably a foregone conclusion. But can't we evaluate the decisions that led us to this point? Whether it be a lack of communication, whether it be bad decision-making, whether it be a bad relationship with the board and the teachers, whether it be a citizen liaison or somebody that represents the teachers. There had to have been something, it seems, that we could have done to have avoided this. Again, it just seems like one more thing that isn't in the best interest of our school district, and it's just gonna be given to the citizens to accept, and that's it.
Well, then you need to convey that
I
same
sent
sentiment.
that exact same email
Well,
to
I didn't
every
see it, but
single
you need
teacher.
to convey the same sentiment, that you don't feel that it's in the best interest of our school district to the people that are pursuing it.
I did.
Okay.
I absolutely
Not to
made
the
that-
people that oppose it,
I made that
to the people
clear
that are
to them.
pursuing it.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it seems, there seems value to me to understand how we got to this point. I mean, we
I
can't
would-
just turn to the teachers and say, this is all on you. I mean, we all have a shared responsibility in this, me included.
Okay.
I don't come to these board meetings every single week. I don't read the minutes of these minutes every single week. And I guess, to be an informed citizen, that's what I have to do. And so again, that's on me for not
Well, I would
staying
encourage
informed
you to do
enough.
this,
but,
then
I
give
mean,
me a call, or give Scott a call, or give one of the, I'd be glad to sit down with you in my office, or wherever you wanna meet, and we'll talk about where we are and how we got here. That's not a problem.
And again, I would say, and you can ask my staff, reflection is a big part of what I believe in, and say we need to do it, whether it's after a lesson in the classroom or anything that goes on, that we always need to be reflective of what happens and whether or not it makes sense or.
yeah, it just seems like a very, very big deal. to
It
me.
is, and it's unfortunate.
It's an
but there's
incredibly
nothing that-
big deal.
I-
And somewhere
disputing that.
along the lines, I have a difficult time believing that we couldn't have resolved this. I'm not saying that we could have, but it sure seems like, that something had to have been possible before we reached the edge of the cliff.
Well, my only comment would be, is that this is not something that happened yesterday,
I totally agree.
and this is not something the board just said, oh, gee, I guess we should do something about compensation. We have been working on the issue of compensation for well over a year. We have been working with the teachers.
But we
And-
haven't done anything accomplished.
Well,
We tried.
there,
But you have to
the
make
point,
it
the point is,
satisfactory.
the
You
point
got-
is, there was a meeting of the minds between the board and the administration and the teachers, and there was discussion upon discussion upon discussion, and unfortunately, it has not resolved the way any of us wanted it to. So, we were not in a
Exactly.
position to comment on the issue as a board. All we can say is that I personally don't think it's a good thing. But
I agree. I
as
think there are a lot
Mr.
of
Merritt
sense in
said, now you're gonna have to ask the teachers what their basis is. Because we have been working with them for well over a year. we know what issues they had, and we tried to come to the table with, you know, things to resolve the issues.
So the teachers are being unreasonable
No,
in this matter?
all I'm
I mean,
saying
it seems
is
to me
we
that a
tried,
group of intelligent people and another group of intelligent people could get together in a period of 12 months and reach some kind of solution in the best interest of
which
the community.
is
That's all
exactly
that I'm
where we
saying.
thought
Okay,
we
all right, well,
were.
Because sometimes I gotta pay my
Hold on,
employees
hold
more
on.
than I wanna pay them in order to keep them. You know, you have to reach, there's a compromise. You know, you
Well,
have to do
there
certain
is
things.
a
And
compromise,
I've never had an
and-
argument with an
and
employee for 1
We
year
have,
over
we have
compensation.
provided compensation over the past 2 years, and we have been trying to work toward a solution. Now, our ideas of a solution have been presented, and we've had much discussion. We thought we had come to a resolution, which apparently they did not agree with. So that's where we're at.
So let's, I mean, I understand your concern, I think you've made it clear. We appreciate your comments, but I think we're just gonna move on from here. Well, I mean, I appreciate the snicker, but, you know, that's just the way it is.